building a Bitcoin derivative exchange on the Lightning Network. And we'll be taking live questions on Twitter. Just add hashtag Potzblitz on the Fulmo MetaMost channel, which is mm.fulmo.org. MetaMost is an open source alternative to Slack, so it will look quite familiar. Or just put your questions in the live chat, and we'll try to answer everything either during the presentation, which is fine, or just afterwards. We're streaming via Jitsi, which is also a great open source video conference software and a great alternative to Zoom. You can install it yourself, and there's no sign up required. So that's a pretty cool thing, I would say. Now, today we are joined by our awesome co-host. Some of you might know him. He's Joshua Voltoro. I was going to say Joshua Scigala of Voltoro. And Josh has been moderating hundreds of other events, most prominently the Lightning Hack Days, where he has been, I think you've been there for all of them, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. I think the very first one, we had a different colleague there, had to get replaced. But it's just so much fun, folks. You can't miss out on those. You know.
So it's great having you on today as a co-host. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Josh also has been running an exchange for 5 years, Bitcoin to Gold. So he'll have all the questions to Victor and Romain that might also be of interest. I think that's about it for my introduction. Of course, obligatory YouTube comment. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. And we'll be doing another show next week. I'm going to announce it after this episode. And without much further ado, I'm very happy to introduce to you Victor and Romain of LNMarkets. Your screen.
Hi. Yes. So my name is Romain, and this is Victor. So Victor is our CTO, and basically he is the guy who built LNMarkets. But before he starts, if that's fine with you, I'll start with a brief overview of LNMarkets, what it is, because I'm sure some of you don't know what is LNMarkets or what it looks like. So maybe I'll share some slides, and then I'll leave the floor to Victor. Yes. So basically, with LNMarkets.com, what we want to build is the fastest way to trade. And we think the fastest way to trade is using the Lightning Network. In this talk, we'll try to see why we decided to build on Lightning and what has been our journey, because there can be a lot of challenge, like technical challenge, building on Lightning Network, because the tech is still new. So we'll go through all this together. And if you have questions, feel free to interrupt or to ask in the chat or social media or etc. But let's start with a question that needs to be asked. Okay, why the hell did we decide to to launch a trading platform for derivatives on the Lightning Network? Yeah, sure. Lightning Network is for payments, and some can say also for micro payments. But we think that it's also, this technology is also very suited to trade derivatives. Derivatives are futures and options, so they are financial instruments whose value depends on an underlying instrument, and usually Bitcoin derivatives, the one we know most, are futures based on Bitcoin, so they are instruments based on the value of BTC US dollar. Bitcoin derivatives exchange today, so the most famous are like BitMEX for futures or Deribit for options, but it's becoming a more and more crowded place. There's also, of course, Bitfinex, Binance, FTX. There's a lot of Bitcoin derivatives exchange. Today, they play two main roles. They are at the same time trading venue and clearinghouse. And as clearinghouse, what this Bitcoin derivatives exchange do is to make sure that buyers and sellers of financial instruments honor their obligation. They require traders to deposit and maintain an account funded with some collateral expressed in Bitcoin, which is what we call the margin. So basically, to enter a position, you need to pay some margin, and if your position, if the P&L of your position starts to deteriorate, you need to post additional collateral, to post additional margin to keep the position open. Otherwise, your position can get liquidated. And this margin in traditional Bitcoin derivatives exchange, this margin payment process, causes quite a few problems. The first one is that paying margin for financial instruments that trade in Bitcoin, like Bitcoin futures, is a slow process. Why? Because you need to do a Bitcoin transaction, meaning you have to go on layer one, you need to go on Bitcoin blockchain, and we know that the Bitcoin transaction can take some time to settle. Also, it can be costly because the fees are higher on Bitcoin layer 1 than on layer 2. Plus, when you transfer Bitcoin to the exchange, you take a counterparty risk on the exchange. This counterparty risk you could mitigate it if you only deposit on the exchange what you need for your position, and you get the rest out of the exchange using, for example, a cold wallet solution. But it's not a simple process. I mean, to go back and forth between cold and hot wallet takes time and is not obvious. And ultimately, you may miss market opportunities in doing so. And in Bitcoin markets, which are highly volatile, you don't want to miss market opportunities. So basically, that's why we had the idea to create some kind of Bitcoin derivative trading platform on Lightning, using Lightning feature to provide some kind of new trading experience. Basically, we launched Mainnet on March 11, so just the day before March 12, which was quite epic for crypto markets. And basically, what happened that day with the price of Bitcoin, like going down from $8,000 US to $4,000, and which could have almost, go to zero if BitMEX hadn't stopped. Who knows? Well, it showed, it highlighted this fact, in a really serious way. A lot of people, a lot of traders on BitMEX that day got their participants liquidated because they could not fund their margin. They could not refund their position fast enough because in times of high volatility, Bitcoin blockchain tends to be more congested. So it highlights why we had this idea to create LNMarkets.com. Basically, what we wanted to do is leverage the Lightning Network as a settlement layer for instant fund transfer and trading. We wanted to create this kind of new trading paradigm in which you can transfer and trade at the same time. Okay, you can minimize your risk. Basically, on LNMarkets.com, as we will see, you just right before, you just need a Lightning wallet and you keep custody of your funds just a millisecond before you enter a position. So you minimize your risk. So this is what the interface looks like. Actually, the new interface, it's the great dark mode that Victor just released yesterday. So just to show you that we are not, LNMarkets.com is not an exchange in the traditional way. We are more like a trading desk, meaning there's no order book. We quote a bid offer, okay, and if you want to enter a position, you can do it on this bid offer. The first product we list, and all the details are on tab. The first product we list on LNMarkets.com is a CFD. It's a contract for difference. We explain all the detail and the mechanics on product, but so basically it's a financial instrument that tracks the value of BTC USD. Okay, and it's a financial instrument with a leverage component, meaning you can take a leverage between 1 and 50. So a leverage of 1, you're not in a leverage position, but if you take a leverage of 2, for example, it means that, let's say you go long, let's say you enter into a long position, if your P&L will be doubled with a leverage of 2. So when you're right, it's good. When you're wrong, it can be very risky. So you have to be careful with this leverage. What we wanted to do with LNMarkets.com is also provide the most seamless experience you can have on the Lightning Network, because we read a study by Radar Ion, which interviewed a lot of Lightning Network companies, and a lot of them said, well, basically what could really be improved is UX, is user experience when you develop this kind of Lightning application, and we wanted it to make a really simple experience, meaning that even participants with no Lightning knowledge or no financial knowledge could start experimenting our application. So you can create, basically to create an account, there's two ways you can connect to LNMarket. If you have a node, well, with Joule, you can connect it directly, or you just need a Lightning wallet, like on a mobile app, like Blue Wallet or Phoenix, and you just need to scan an invoice to create this account. And then, you know, when you fund your wallet in a way, it's like a transfer to a custodian bank for a future investment, you know, in the traditional world. So it's as if you wanted to buy some shares of Apple or etc. You need to transfer your funds to a custodian bank before doing that, but you are the custodian bank. Okay, you transfer this fund on your wallet. They belong to you. You have full ownership on these funds just right before you enter the position. Okay, and then you can trade directly from your wallet. So as I said, basically to conclude, to enter a trading position, what you need to do is pay an invoice. With wallets that support LNURL, as we'll see, it's quite seamless. And this way, in fact, we see your account on LNMarkets as some new kind of trading account. One which is non-custodial, you have custody over your funds. One that is auditable, meaning both parties on a channel can verify the balance that there is, and one that is connected, okay, that can stream funds instantly. Maybe I'll show you for those who haven't tried LNMarkets. First, I think you should, and then I'll just show you. We have a quick demo of how it looks like to enter a position. You have your order, you scan your QR code. Okay, so this is your Phoenix wallet. You pay the invoice, and paying your invoice, your position is open. Closing your position is exactly the same way, but the other way around. And once you have a PNL, you can get your PNL back, immediately to your wallet, instantly. And yeah, we think it's a pretty cool experience to have like this instant in and out of the market. So this is for a brief overview of what is LNMarkets. And now I'll leave the floor to Victor for a more technical overview of LNMarkets.
Hang on, yeah. If we could just ask a few questions on that.
Yeah, sure.
Start first, and then we'll get more into technicals. I just wanted to step back a bit for the audience, because some people don't even know what a derivative is, and it sounds just like high finance mumbo jumbo, when really it's quite easy. And I know for all of us here, it's like, oh yeah, but what? Yeah. Of course we know, but one of the things that the CFD is, why that's interesting, is that it's not actually, you're not actually buying any Bitcoin, and there's no order book. And this might also confuse people about why is there no order queue book, and there it's effectively an OTC market with you guys. You guys are always the counterparty on these, and they're betting on the price. So this price has to come from somewhere. And that's one thing I was interested too. Like, do you guys disclose where the oracle of the price feed's coming from, or can people cheat that system, or could you use that information to cheat people?
Yeah, no, basically it's we disclose this on and it's BitMEX perpetual swap, which we use as kind of like oracle for the price. We know that there are some like discrete log smart contracts and all these projects trying to solve the oracle problem that we looked at and we think are great, but they are not ready yet from a technical perspective, and we wanted to launch something now, right now.
Yeah.
So, that's why we took this route. But also for derivatives, I think what's interesting is that a lot of our users tell us, I've never been to BitMEX. I mean, it's scary, and I'm not into it, and I'm not interested about all this stuff. It seems like highly sophisticated finance, but in fact, LNMarkets is a lot of fun, and this way, I can start to have an experiment, play around, and then what is the margin, how is it computed, etc. And then they got into it, just with the product. I think it's interesting to see that.
Yeah, for sure. And what's interesting for me is that the fact, we were one of the first exchanges to implement Lightning Network like 2 years ago. And that was exactly what we loved about it, is that people didn't have to trust our hot wallets. They could send an order through, and we had an instant order setting. So and they would place an order on gold, and then it would instantly buy gold. And that to me really blew my mind. And that's when I really thought, right, this is the scaling solution that we're looking for, because now all of a sudden, especially exchanges, we can have pre-confirmed transactions going into an order book without us worrying that they're going to reverse the transaction or bid higher on the transaction later to try to get that transaction back. And so by sending pre-confirmed transactions, that's just beautiful. It's a beautiful solution, and to make it so cheap and fast and quick. And it surprises me still on Twitter how many people just troll the hell out of me or anyone about how slow Bitcoin is, and it's a failed project because it's too expensive and slow. And man, have you used some of these products yet, like Joule and Zap? And it's really starting to grow like crazy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And just to add a little bit, we've been working together with Com and Victor for 5 years. And before that, we worked in bank, especially Com, who designed the product. He spent 15 years on trading desk. I did my share of trading too. And when you come from like the investment banking world and you see how complex are the settlement process, the time it takes, the number of intermediaries there are, it's still paper-based. For a large part, paper-based process. So it's when you see this kind of stuff, we did the demo of LNMarkets to a large asset manager in France, and he was just amazed to see, because of course, he knows Bitcoin, he likes Bitcoin, but he had no idea basically that you could do this kind of instant, payments just over the internet. He was fascinated by it. So he told us, you got. It's you're ahead of your time. It's gonna, it's gonna be mainstream in 5 years or 10 years, or etc. But still, I think it's the early days, but it's fascinating even from a traditional finance perspective, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it is. One thing that worries me though is if some trader does really, really well, and you guys have liquidity issues. I was playing around already. I tried to withdraw. It said, liquidity problem. Can't withdraw. It was only $1. But this is the problem with a single counterparty. If you've got an order book, there's other people dealing with it, and So how do you guys cover yourselves and the issue of running out of money?
There's two aspects here. The first one is I would say the first one is how, because we are the direct counterparty, so how do we ensure that, you know, we are solvent enough to pay this? Well, the first one is, you know, it's alpha and it's the early days, so we limited the amount. So basically, the limit per wallet is 1 million sats, so it's like 50 or something US dollar.
71.
7.
There we go.
You're more accurate. So because we knew that there would be liquidity issues, technical glitches, and etc., so we were quite careful about it. Also, well, we basically when participants enter a position, you know, we have a hedging engine which Com has designed, and because he's been doing that for a lot of time, you know, but more on foreign exchange. So we have a hedge engine that we are fine tuning now that the time is now that there's trading limits, but also still, you know, with direct payment, we'll come back to that. The main issue is indeed liquidity management, and for some participants, we had to like open direct channel and you know, do stuff manually. But as Victor will say, I think he'll expand more on that. We're hopeful that new innovation are going to come to help us solve these issues.
Right on. All right, well, let's hand it over to Victor.
Yeah,
Jeff,
hang on.
Have questions?
Yeah, hang on a second. I got some audience questions. So I think there was a questions about the price sort of research. Right now, it looks like you're using BitMEX for quotes.
Yeah.
It's like a comment question from Dennis. He's like, he says that BitMEX has an historic kind of history to sort of crash. And have you considered using a different price or a mixed market price?
Yes.
What's the reasoning behind using BitMEX?
Yes. Well, we started with BitMEX because it's the most liquid, and basically it's been historically, it's very recently that there's been some new exchange, but like when we started building on LNMarkets in September, we had like this huge market share and it's a reference. So we started building on that, but now we also plan to add other price feeds. Like also we want to add new products like options. So we want to include like options from derivatives, for example, or other marketplace. And yes, we may consider at a later stage to use a different reference, but I mean, so far so good. So far it works.
Yeah. Okay. And Super Chestnut is asking on MetaMost whether you're thinking about integrating into BISC. So there could be, you could buy some leverage from other BISC users over Lightning.
Yes, I mean, it could be. We're open to any kind of ideas that make sense. We'd like maybe at a later stage, we've seen other integrating to Blue Wallet, so maybe we could integrate to Wallet, for example, more directly. I mean, we're open to a lot of stuff, but right now, since it's still the early days, we're still very focused on user feedback, and we're lucky because we have a community which gives us a lot of work. You know, like they suggest us a lot of improvements. So we're just more iterating on this before thinking about this kind of like new partnerships or features.
Right. So I'm not sure if everybody knows BISC. It's a decentralized Bitcoin exchange that I think it's one of the only few ones, or like one or two that's completely decentralized. And maybe two more questions that I can give to Victor and maybe it's answered during his part of the talk as well. So one question is whether there's a GitHub or developer documentation, and that question was asked by DAODev on YouTube. And I was also curious, I think you mentioned it before, but maybe Victor is going to talk about that a little bit more in detail, how the actually signing up part works and what kind of wallet you need to use. I think you already said it's URL auth, but I'm curious to learn more about that as well.
Okay. So thank you for hosting us. So I'm Victor, the CTO of LNMarkets. So I will continue the slide that Romain began. So just let me switch. There we are. So I've been working with Romain and Com for 5 years. So in our previous startup was the first approach with the Lightning Network. So it was 2 years ago, and the Lightning Network was coming mainnet. And at this time, we were in Station F. So Station F is the biggest incubator startup in France. And I think in the world, they say. And we were working there on other blockchain, but more for a company and banks. And behind us were people who were making socks. And there was a startup selling socks and hat online. And we asked them if they wanted to made a Bitcoin socks, and if we can sell it on the Lightning Network. Because we have saw the Lightning shop from Blockstream. I think it was the first of its kind. And we decided to build it for fun and just to see how the tech works. And at this time, there was already the 3 main implementation, so Eclair, Lightning, and LND. And it was a nice project to begin with, a toy project. But it took me 1 month to really understand what it was about and how Lightning was working practically, like when you have to handle a client and tell him what to do. And so after this project, we faced the few issues that we are also facing today, such as channel liquidity. So basically, there is most of the time when the payment is failed, it's because there is no liquidity in the channel, so inbound and outbound. The network was really small at the beginning. It's still small, but it's growing every day. And the major pain point was user onboarding, because at this time we were only using Eclair or LND or stuff like that. There wasn't very easy to use wallet, so it was very hard to have clients. So it was yes, it was a good time, and socks are collector now. So last September, after iterating over a few ideas, we went with what we do best, we think. So it was tech and finance. And with the background of Romain and Cobb in finance, we have found that the main use case for Bitcoin right now was mostly financial products. So we decided to launch and to start develop this platform, but using Lightning Network. We were still looking at it, and we were still thinking that it was very awesome project, with all the time evolving all the time, and very quickly. So from a more technical point, we are developing this project with LND. Because in my opinion, it's still the most developer friendly if you want to build something retail and accessible. And also, they are most of the time the top notch functionality. They are always developing, always making tools. It's very nice to work with this tool. And so we were having our pain point. First, very huge pain point who was onboarding user, and at this time, last September, I was digging and I found about Joule and WebLN. So WebLN is a library that you can add in your front to enable communication with other WebLN wallet. And we found about Joule, which is made by the same developer. And Joule enables you to interact with your Lightning wallet in your browser. So it was, for me at this time, it was the most advanced way to use Lightning Network, and it solved us a few pain points like the KYC, identifying user, because with Joule, to log in, to sign in Lightning Market, you just have to sign a message with your private key, send us the signature and the message, and we will get your public key. So for us, it was a strong mechanical of identification. We are not storing any personal information, and it was available to every major browser. After that, so we launched our first testnet product. So it was working with Joule, and we starting having some issue to have user feedback, because even if Joule is very easy to use, it's very hard to configure and to set up. So basically, because it was testnet only, I created a script to create a Lightning node with testnet bitcoins and a channel already ready. And I was giving people the famous macaroons. So macaroons is a way to authenticate yourself with your Lightning node. And even we were giving people everything they need to use Joule, they weren't using Joule because it was too tedious and too complicated for them. So that's why for our mainnet launch that happened just before the lockdown in France, we started digging into the mobile wallet and how we can authenticate with them and how it can handle our application. So basically, to allow a non-custodial wallet and mobile wallet to interact with the Lightning Network, with the Lightning Market, we added login creation that asks you to pay a very small amount invoice, and this invoice will the payment hash of the invoice will allow you to back up your account. So if you know your payment hash, you can recover your account, and you just create credentials like regular website. We know that it's not the best way to handle notification, but for us it was the easiest way to onboard people and to be sure that they have a Lightning wallet. And with mobile wallet, we also faced a new issue. It was withdrawing a position, because most of the time users don't use LNMarkets on their phone. They just scan a QR code on their laptop, and it was hard to copy paste just a simple invoice. So after a few dig in the very huge Lightning community, we found about LNURL, and LNURL enable you to withdraw position. So basically, you scan an LNURL, then your wallet asks the service to as a service what kind of an invoice they need. So the amount, expiry, etc. And after, your wallet sends the invoice to the services. So it's a very clever way to use already bricks like HTTP, and after a few days of testing, it was working flawlessly. And also with that, we found about Ride the Lightning. So it's a very cool open source project too, who enable my associate to manage our Lightning node. Because I couldn't handle everything at this time. And after that, I will just briefly talk about the technical stack. So to be quick, it's mainly JavaScript, because I'm the only one developing in the team. So everything is in JavaScript. And it was also a choice because there is a huge support from Lightning Labs with the NPM package from Alex Bosworth, who very make it easy to connect a Node application to LND. And beside that, it's not very revolutionary. It's like just a classical technical stack. Pop. So we launched Mainnet just before the shutdown. So it's a very nice time because everyone is home and everyone can try your solution. So we choose to make a trading limit on the platform because we don't want to take too many risks. It's still an alpha version, and we just want to see how we will face every problem that we will have after we scale. And we are still using LND. So LND for me was very easy to use and easy to plug in because of the built-in channel backup and a lot of the project built on LND. And after this mainnet launch, we are facing the same challenges that we were having 2 years ago with the Bitcoin socks or the Lightning socks. So it's routing issues, liquidity, because even if the market is bigger than at this time, sometimes if your node is not well connected, or if the people who is paying you is not well connected, it's hard to find a route. And also now managing a node, it's easier with an app like RTL, but still it can be tedious. Well, and I will leave the rest to Romain, or if there is any question, I will answer.
Just to say that there will be 2 more slides. I think there were 2 questions. One was on GitHub documentation, and on this part, basically it's not live yet because we're still building a lot on the content, but sure, at some point the plan is to open source it.
Yeah. For API documentation, it's moving too fast for us, for me to build a good documentation. I'm changing every day ID. I'm trying every day some new ideas. So when it will settle, I will advertise it.
And the other question was about.
I didn't. C'était quoi?
This one.
So it was about which wallets currently support LNMarkets.
Yeah, for the wallet, mainly you can use LNMarket with any wallet because you can just use it with copy or pasting invoice in your wallet and in LNMarkets. But if you want the best experience, you should use Joule or a Lightning wallet with LNURL working with it. So I think it's like BellW, Phoenix Forma 5, and Blue Wallet who works the best.
Yeah, sadly, Zap still doesn't have LNURL, which is sad.
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah.
Not yet.
We
were dealing with this issue just this weekend, because we had a user who had an issue with that.
Yeah. I mean, I just, when I was using it, I was just copying, pasting invoices, just as easy, folks.
Yeah.
Nothing too complex there.
Yes, sorry.
One thing I wanted to ask was, a lot of us in this space, especially in the hacker communities, we get an idea and we just sit down, we smash it out, and we create this product, and then people start coming in and using it. So you then become full-time and you create this amazing thing, and then some idiot from the government comes and goes all over your project. And I'm just wondering, are you guys looking for funding to be able to handle those sort of throw up moments when there's some government rep is throwing up at your door, going regulations, your weird internet money,
Yes,
people are using it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we've before that, as Victor said, we tried to launch a regulated Bitcoin fund in France, and we had a lot of hurdles, and it takes a lot of time, it costs money, etc. So we know that how difficult it is. So that's why at first we wanted to launch also with trading limits, so that it's kind of like, it's not a toy project, but it's low limit. But yes, there are two routes. One is we're still trying to get more decentralized features so that we don't take custody of the funds and we find some regulatory scheme in which it works better. And the other is, yes, we've been bootstrapped since the beginning, and we also start looking for funding so that first Victor is less alone, and he can talk to somebody about all this technical stuff, and also to manage this kind of stuff. But maybe because we're not quite finished yet on our, so maybe I'll do just a brief, and Victor will conclude just after, just to tell you a bit more about the launch, and so we didn't know really what to expect, especially after the testnet launch, because we didn't have that many feedback due to Joule, which is complex to set up and etc. And in the end, we were quite happy with the mainnet launch currently, and especially because we have a group of core users who are quite active and who ask us a lot of questions. We've settled around 3,000 trades, and we had $500,000 US volume, even though trading is limited. Our node also grew bigger. We have more and more connected channel, and it's interesting to see that our best partner node right now is Bitfinex, which is also one of the exchanges that implemented the Lightning Network. Also, we bootstrapped completely LNMarkets. So basically, 3 months ago, we had we didn't even have, or 1 month ago, a Twitter account or Telegram, and now we've got more and more people on Twitter. So it's at LNMarkets. We have a Telegram group, which is a support group, and we are 75, something like that, on Telegram. And also, we launched a newsletter on Substack, on which you can register in the front page. And we tried to do it as a mix of Lightning Network updates, financial markets update as well, and not to make it too long, because we already have so many newsletters. We just want to make it short and something around like bi-weekly. Also, in terms of user feedback, we think the Lightning community has been very kind to us, because even when there were like technical glitch or bugs, they were quite patient, they were always friendly people to deal with, so we appreciate it a lot. Well, most of the user feedback was positive on the seamless experience, on the fact that it's quite simple to trade. And what I told you, Josh, Soft Simon, I've never used BitMEX in my life, but instant deposit and withdraw make it so seamless and easy. And you experience it yourself. So this kind of stuff is fun. We've also been lucky because we've talked to Alex and Elizabeth from Lightning Labs, and they tried LNMarkets and did a tweet on that, and it helped us gain visibility because and grow awareness about LNMarket, because it's still quite young, and also I'm a fan. I'm non-technical, but I'm trying to get better. So my favorite book is Programming Bitcoin by Jimmy Song, and I've spent a lot of time working on it. And it was great to see Jimmy, talking about LNMarkets in his show. So yeah, that's for the user feedback, and I'll let Victor conclude more on the road ahead of us.
Yeah. Up. Just let me switch. Bam, bam. Up. Yeah. So for conclude, it's just What can you expect from LNMarkets in the future? So as I said, LNMarkets is moving really fast. So I'm trying every day a new idea and new stuff to do. So that's why you won't see documentation in the near future. So we are looking forward to multipass payment. I think LND in the next release will enable it. So basically, it will help to solve a lot of outbound liquidity issues and routing issues. We are also looking forward to use Loop if users want to withdraw funds on chain, and also to KeySend. KeySend is a way to have a transfer, have a Lightning transfer, but without an invoice. So you can directly transfer some Satoshi to someone. And I will also implement LNURL auth. So LNURL auth is a protocol to use, where you just have to scan a QR code with your mobile wallet or paste the LNURL, and it will sign a message like Joule and authenticate you this way. So with that, we will have a seamless QR code Lightning experience. And with the rise of QR code in Asian country, I think it's a good way to use Lightning, because it's very fun way. Not fun, but it's a very interactive way to use Lightning. It's just not clicking on button and stuff like that. And on the finance side, we're going to add a stop loss and, like Romain said, a new product like option and a liquidation killer who will be announced very soon, I think. And after that, I will try my best, because I'm not the best front dev, I know. And so I will try to make the site more mobile friendly, and we'll add some information for our user. And the last slide will be about what we want to see in the future of Lightning. And as someone who's used Lightning and tools that built on Lightning Network, and what tool we want to see and have to use. So for us, transaction size is it's not the highest priority, but if the size begins to grow, it's because the networks is getting bigger and bigger. So it's more user will be using it. So it's good for us. More stability when your node have a lot of channels, because it's sometimes it's a pita to use it, not to use it, but to manage it correctly. So rebalancing channels, etc. It's still kind of hard to do. And we want to see harmonization of the standards. So we want to see what will prevail with LNURL or LSAT. But right now, I think LNURL is doing the job very great. It's very easy to implement, and
Victor.
Live streaming is on.
All right, we're back.
All right, there was a technical glitch, but we're back. Maybe rewind 1 or 2 minutes, Victor. I don't know where we stopped.
Yeah, okay. So basically, I will just finish with our watch list, or next for us, so the next big thing that will be implemented on the Lightning Network. So RGB.
Yeah.
Basically, we need a tokenized asset because we want to give our customer more product, and also I just want to talk about a cool project that are built also on a network. So it's called Sphinx. Sorry, and it's like a Lightning chat. So you just chat with a Lightning wallet. So it's a Signal or Telegram, but Telegram is not the best chat for me, but Signal, but with Lightning. And for me, one of the most major advantage of a Lightning Network is that it could be the spark that will embrace the digital identity with cryptography, and LNURL LNURL out with LDAT, where you just have your wallet scan a QR code or Joule, you send a message and beam, you are authenticated. You don't need any personal information. You don't need to handle anything beside your public key and prove that you are the owner of the private key. So that's all for me. If you have any question.
Thank you. There are actually some questions regarding development in the future, your future plans. So one of them was already answered, I think. One question from Dennis was when you will be able to actually trade larger volumes that might be interesting for more professional traders, say like 10,000 euro, 100,000 euro even. And I guess that's something that has to be enabled on more of a protocol level or the implementation level. Or do you have different plans to enable these kinds of volumes?
Yeah, we have planned, but before that, we just want to be sure that everything works with small amounts. But it's in the records, and we are looking forward for that.
Yes, I mean there are like Lightning Network transaction size limit, which is one limitation. I don't think we have a huge leverage on that one yet. So that could be a max. But there are also some projects like for larger transactions. There are a lot of projects actually being developed, which could be useful later for that.
Yeah.
And as you said, George, there's also regulatory stuff that we need to deal with also.
So there's another question by Super Testnet, and I think he's going to come to the Jitsi Hangout in a couple of minutes once we stop the live stream. Yeah. He's asking whether the API will include stats like trade volume, capacity, and stuff like that.
It's in the pipe. I just have to do my magic with database and make the stat pop out.
Yeah.
More coffee.
Yeah.
And there's actually DAO Dev. He in the YouTube comments, he actually said that he can help contribute as a dev if he's needed. So I hope he's going to be on the Jitsi call as well, or you can also find his handle in the YouTube chat.
Okay, we'll add him, but I think for now it's more like a funding issue more than just we want some people to help us. But maybe Romain has a better answer than me.
I mean, a lot of help is welcome, and everybody. I mean, once we put some, some more code open source and etc., it will be more easy for people to contribute than it is right now. But that is because we're still in the early days and still developing. I think the main help we can get right now is more like on the awareness, because we're new and it's not such a small community, and I think this project could get more exposure. So feel free to spread the word about it.
Live streaming is on.
Yeah, you just made a joke about funding the project with an ICO, and I think Jitsi cut us off because apparently they don't get the humor. We have to look into that. So thank you so far. I don't know, Josh, do you have any other pressing questions that you think are as important, maybe
No.
from exchange side, or did we cover most of it so far?
Yeah, I think we've covered most of it. I think it's a really exciting project. I'm loving seeing native Lightning Network integration. One thing I think would be interesting is atomic swaps between, you know, Litecoin and other, you know, coins that have also got Lightning Network, just to see what's available there. You know, jumping straight into the OTC, the CFD, I think makes sense for a small team. Order books, as we know at Voltura, are a lot more complex, you know, because there's a lot more logic in the background trying to match. So it's a tricky game, and I really take my hat off to you guys.
Thank you.
You're taking it on with a small team like that. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to keep on trying to use it, and yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
Much appreciated. Thanks a lot for the kind words. Thank you.
Well, thank you also for coming from my side. I'm going to publish the Jitsi room before we stop the live stream, so people can join in and have hang out and have some questions and talk to you a bit more. So check the comments and come over to the Jitsi room. I've also put it on MetaMost. It's mm.fulmo.org. If you liked today's episode, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back with more. Potzblitz episode number 3 is coming up next Sunday, April 26th. And we'll have a gaming episode. We're going to have Zebedee, or is it Zebedee? Well, we'll find out. Christian Moss, aka Mental Duck, and Andre Neves are going to come and talk about how to integrate Lightning into games. And
Very
they'll
cool.
also talk about Mint Gox, which is a online gaming event that's focused on Lightning gaming. So I'm quite excited to hear from them. And as a co-host, Theo Goodman, the meme master himself, will join us. So also looking forward to next week. And for this week, thank you, Victor and Romain, for coming and talking about LNMarkets. And thanks a lot, Josh, for
Always a pleasure.
co-hosting this episode. I've just put the Jitsi link into the YouTube comments, and I'll stop the live stream now. Thank you for tuning in.
Merci.
Thank you for coming, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace. Peace
Bye
out.
bye.